Hi, I'm Steve Quayle from stevequayle.com, and we're starting a new feature, hopefully to turn into a daily Qcast, a webcast. With all the news I basically post on my internet site, stevequayle.com, up to 18 hours a day, there's just too much happening now in real time. Having been on talk radio for 23 plus years and having people from all over the world contact me, it's really important that you guys get the latest news. A lot of the stuff I obviously broadcast or write in my alerts, it gets pushed around the web. But I think by hearing it and allowing me to deliver it to you, you'll get a better feel for it. Now, as most of you know, I wrote the book, Empire Beneath the Ice, How the Nazis Won World War II, a year ago in December 2015. After that book was published, the headlines of the world started talking about the resurgence of all the Nazi interest and all of the efforts to locate everything from Himmler's secret occult library, 13,000 volumes, to the Hunting for Hitler on the History Channel. The world came into a new phase where they wanted to know about all these different issues related to the Third Reich. When I wrote the book, Empire Beneath the Ice, I obviously covered all of the available material and then some. I was contacted by various people around the world, including the grandson of one of the most famous German admirals, and telling me that what I was talking about in Antarctica was very, very real. Now, in the last 6 months, the last year, the world's leaders have gone to the Antarctic seemingly on some kind of a nonsense excuse trip. But today, which is January 31st, 2017, I received a communication from someone who's been in Antarctica for the last, let's just say this, the last major period of time. I want you to know that he went into great detail about all the leaders, and he watched them come in, showing up in the Antarctica and being taken to different places. Being a scientist, he was also forbidden to go near the 9 dishes that basically are in a specific part of Antarctica, and was given the different excuses that there's a lot of control mechanisms that are basically top secret. It's been my contention, ladies and gentlemen, and the Norse cyber attack map, that's spelled N-O-R-S-E, showing many, many, many attacks on the computer infrastructure of the United States and Europe. It shows them coming from the Antarctic. Why is this important? As I maintained on Greg Hunter's interview, USAWatchdog.com, I think it's 250,000 views now. I know it's gone over all kinds of different internet sites around the world. It is a concern to everyone. It's fascinating. What I've learned in writing about ancient history for 30 years and being on talk radio for 23 years as a talk show host. Prior to that, I was a guest on some of the biggest talk show radio shows around the world, let alone the country. Everyone has a sense that something huge is getting ready to happen. They tend to put it into a political issue or a financial issue. And I publish a lot of these different people's writings, essays, and let's just say their take on the financial markets. But I've always learned to look in the opposite direction. Because like a hypnotist who uses an amulet to keep your eyes on the amulet to hypnotize, I believe the mainstream media is the ultimate eye that keeps everybody in this country focused on the wrong stuff in the wrong area. And now we know with all the fight against the internet and the specific 200 of the most important alternative sites in the world, alternative news sites, of which mine is one of them, stevequayle.com, being singled out basically to be being harassed and taken down. I want you to know that this communique that I've got, and I'm going to be kind of a little bit veiled, was as up to the minute as can be as of 6 days ago. So when I'm told that there are specific intelligence agencies setting up, and I'll be vague in that, but read between the lines, very headline intelligence agencies and protective services for dignitaries showing up in the Antarctic and being given the royal tour while told something completely innocuous and vague. It tells me that everyone of a world leader status is being prepped, is being shown, and basically being keyed in and cued in to a world announcement, whether it's disclosure, or whatever it is. It's my take that it's both what has been and what is now. As you know, those of you who've read Tom Horn's book, Exo Vaticana, have heard Tom Horn and I and Timothy Alberino and others talking about Mount Graham, the telescope on Mount Graham, controlled by the Vatican, that in granting the name Lucifer to an electronic instrument, they're looking for something not only in the visible light range, but the invisible light range. The invisible light range. So now where are we at time, in my opinion, is very important. I've learned to watch sequencing and clustering. Sequencing is really simple in my terminology, just A being A, B, C, D, E following each other. Clustering is when the whole alphabet comes into play almost at once. Cliff High of the Webbots has been picking up the Antarctic for years. When I first wrote Genetic Armageddon, and by the way, as important as that subject matter is, there seems to be no awareness in the general population of how critical all of the different magazine articles, newspaper headlines, and all the various, if you will, false flags and true flags that are being put out there so people understand that the age of the chimeras, the age of animal-human hybrids is here. The years of, if you will, this is the year of CRISPR technology revelation. We're in the times of literally ancient legends declaring that when the inhabitants of the land got into mixing genetic species with not only humans, but what preceded the humans prior Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. People can argue about it, but even today, I posted on my website, stevequayle.com, the headline that James Cameron, obviously the director of the Terminator movies, Avatar, and the Titanic, and so many other films, was talking about Atlantis is going to be found. Now, as you know, in True Legends, the series, we are tracking and putting out DVDs, the entire global reach of the giants, the mighty men of renown, the heroes, the Gibborim, some people pronounce it. Whatever happened to Nimrod? Whatever happened to all the mighty men of renown? So we're coming out in the next couple months, True Legends the third, and it's going to be called There Were Giants. But when we talk about giants, ladies and gentlemen, we're not just talking about dead bones and people basically talking about the Smithsonian cover-up, and in our case, the Vatican cover-up, from eyewitness testimonies and written testaments from people who have gone on, they've died, but the things they wanted people to know before they died. So tonight on Hagman and Hagman, L.A. Marzulli and I will be talking about the live giants that have been encountered in Afghanistan by Special Operations Forces, Marine Corps Force Recon, and I would call the specialists who are brought in to deal with these things. We're talking about two separate incidents, and why this is relevant to Antarctica is simply this. Antarctica, according to people that have talked to me, the highest ranking military guys, some of them are very, very secretive, high ranking intelligence agents who are now dead, the different people that will show up in my store in Bozeman, Montana and tell me stuff and then disappear. And for the record, I never ask their names. And for the record, I keep certain information private. That way I make sure that none of my original or information or anybody else's is fed back to me in a feedback loop. We come to the point now in time where everything that's been hidden is being revealed. We're coming to a point in time where, again, as we will talk tonight on Hagman and Hagman, that's January 31st, we're going to share with you different accounts of different encounters with live giants. I've been told by those with intelligence clearances beyond anything, even guys who have crypto clearance, SCI, compartmentalized intelligence, specific to their specific projects, that the greatest attempts and amount of funding, all those trillions of dollars that have disappeared, they go into black budgets. But one of the most important is the DARPA, D-A-R-P-A, super soldier. Can you imagine the mighty men of renown having extractable DNA? And if you think that's so strange, there is no country that I've been able to locate that doesn't talk about the giants and that doesn't talk about a judgment, a heavenly judgment falling upon those giants, whether South America, whether East Asia, whether the islands of the Pacific. Also today, I posted an article on my website, stevequayle.com, about Gondwanaland, and some people pronounce it Gondwanaland, but the supercontinent that the Genesis talks about. There was once a supercontinent with no oceans. So imagine this. Imagine a time where all the pyramids were distributed over the face of the earth. Imagine a time when the giants were indigenous to every civilization. Imagine a time when technology was so advanced and so far beyond what when I've asked spec ops generals and others, I would call field operatives, how far we are in the future, the typical answer is this: look back 10,000 years and look forward 50,000 years in advance. I was also told by the guys that go out and hunt for these artifacts, hunt for the DNA and cover it up, that's called core reality. And core reality is everything from stargates, aliens, and the true history of the world. Now, why this QCast, podcast, webcast is so important is you've got to know that they are increasingly revealing different bits of information to just get you psychologically prepared for what I believe the Bible talks about as the ultimate deception coming. So, ladies and gentlemen, when Jesus said that men's hearts would fail them for looking after those things coming up on the earth, he wasn't kidding. The information specific to the Antarctic is so out of most people's realm to embrace that I can only share it. And this isn't to keep you watching or turning in. I tell it on the radio. But I try and time it so that the mindset of most people can understand it and put it in a frame of reference. Now, everybody doesn't believe this, and a lot of people make it their full-time paid job, and obviously we know who pays them, to discredit almost everything I say. But thinking back over 23 years on talk radio, it was hard when I wrote Genetic Armageddon 15 years ago to convince people that even the headlines of today, actually I wrote about the headlines of today 15 years ago. It's hard to convince people that Antarctica just all of a sudden comes on the scene. Again, I wrote about that 15 years ago in Genetic Armageddon. When you look at the ancient history, you look at the Perry Reese maps and other maps, and hear not only oral stories translated down through the years and transferred to us over the millennia, one of the things that's obvious that you cannot escape the fact that even according to the reports of New Schwabenland that a lot of the advanced parties brought back to Hitler, to the United States, everybody was down there looking for everything. Don't lose track of the fact that in 1947 we went to war with Germany in the South Atlantic and in the Antarctic Sea in what's called Operation High Jump. 13 ships. Admiral Byrd was basically the commandant of it, and it was kept in just immense secrecy. It was cloaked in secrecy. What's fascinating is the Russians, obviously everyone's spying on everybody, has videos of exactly the flying quote-unquote saucers that were seen after this encounter in numerous ways. Also, Roswell, New Mexico happened in 1947. Dr. Wernher von Braun, who was the head of NASA, and also Oberth, two of the top scientists, said it's not that the Nazi scientists were any smarter than anybody else, but they had help from other dimensions. I want to encourage everybody to go and look up Ben Rich, Skunkworks, the father of stealth technology. When you hear what he has to say about what they could do back in 1972, I'll paraphrase. This is your homework, but look it up. A lot of people claim he didn't say that, but it was on his deathbed, and there's just too many ancillary and supporting documents to prove he really did say that. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my desire that I'll keep you up to date as I can, and I'm choosing my words very carefully, in real time. At this point, anything goes at any time, and it's not just the someone that's at the Antarctic, it's the something. Could this possibly be the event that, quote, will unite the whole world in the quintessential deception that Jesus stated that if the days weren't shortened, there'd be no flesh left alive? And the very genetic manipulation, the genetic joining of different species of DNA, all of that's leading to that very statement. And see, it's basic Bible. The time is now here where the technology and the fallen angels and all of their cohorts are doing their best to bring about the end of humanity. And they won't succeed, but they'll try and are already far on their way to bringing that about. And Jesus said, if the days weren't shortened, there'd be no flesh left alive. I'll try and update you on these things daily. I'm going to do it first thing in the morning. So after my headlines, expect it to be a daily affair where I update this. Every other day would be the shortest. This week on Wednesday, I believe I'll be on with Paul Begley. On Sunday night, I'm going to be on with Dave Hodges on Common Sense. So much information's out there. And again, like I say, it's breaking too fast. So I'm sorry for the quickness of this. It'll get a little more polished. And tune in tomorrow. I'm Steve Quayle, stevequayle.com, and this is a QCast. Thank you.